Exodus chapter 22, verse 16 through 31. If a man seduces a virgin who is not betrothed and lies with her, he shall give the bride price for her and make her his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money equal to the bride price for virgins. You shall not permit a sorceress to live. Whoever lies with an animal shall be put to death. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than the Lord alone shall be devoted to destruction. You shall not wrong a sojourner or oppress him, for you are sojourners in the land of Egypt. You shall not mistreat any widow or fatherless child. If you do mistreat them, and they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry, and my wrath will burn, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall become widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to any of my people with you who is poor, you shall not be like a moneylender to them, and you shall not exact interest from him. If ever you take your neighbor's cloak in pledge, you shall return it to him before the sun goes down. For that is his only covering, and it is his cloak for his body. In what else shall he sleep? And if he cries to me, I will hear, for I am compassionate. You shall not revile God, nor curse a ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer from the fullness of your harvest and from the outflow of your presses. The firstborn of your sons you shall give to me. You shall do the same with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with its mother. On the 8th day you shall give it to me. You shall be consecrated to me. Therefore you shall not eat any flesh that is torn by beasts in the field. You shall throw it to the dogs. Today's passage shows us a series of laws that deal with how the Israelite community ought to treat those amongst them. The first set of laws deals with the one who lives unholy lives, unfit for the nation of Israel. If anyone is found leading unholy lives amongst the people, they are to be dealt with harshly. The next set of laws deals with how the people amongst them ought to be treated. God's command is to treat the foreigners and the poor that live among them kindly, knowing that they too were once in such situations. And the reason for such kindness is because God is compassionate, and His people are also to be compassionate. The final set of regulations deals with how one ought to behave before God and the leadership amongst them. God sets a tone of solemn gratitude that all Israel ought to follow and observe. And this gratitude is to be extended to the leaders that God has set over them. Then God summarizes once again in verse 31 that as God's chosen people, they ought to be holy. People of the flesh may instinctively eat meat found in the wilderness, but people of God do not do so, for they live by the word and God's Spirit. The commands that God gives to the Israelites here is to remove any evil from amongst them, and by doing so, remain holy. The same command of removing evil is given to the church in the New Testament as well. 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 10 through 13 says, Not at all meaning the sexually immoral of this world, or the greedy and swindlers or idolaters, since then you would need to go out of the world. But now I am writing to you not to associate with anyone who bears the name of brother, if he is guilty of sexual immorality or greed, or is an idolater, reviler, drunkard, or swindler, not even to eat with such a one. For what have I to do with judging outsiders? Is it not those inside the church whom you are to judge? God judges those outside. Purge the evil person from among you. The purging of those who do evil is one way for the church to remain steadfast before the Lord. On a personal level, we're to remove any evil in our lives also. Colossians chapter 3 verse 5 says, Put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you, sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. As we meditate on today's passage, let us remove anything that is impure and improper before the Lord, so that we can walk steadfast and holy before the Lord.